Hello, everybody. It's Max with Crypto Talk now. Glad to be here with you all tonight. Hopefully, everybody's having a great Sunday. Thank you for joining us here at Crypto Talk now. And if anything, we're going to look into the overall crypto market. We got some great news in regards to what's going on with XRP. There's going to be a lot of focus tonight on specifically XRP, and rightfully so. Especially when you get a chance to see what's going on with that. But yeah, if anything, we're going to also review some portfolio notes that we didn't share last night in regards to some of the investor place coverage. I was going to show you guys that last night, but there's some snippets from that I definitely want to share, not all of it and so on. But if anything, of course, we want to recognize our community that is here with us tonight, starting off with, I believe it's Crypto Winner. Let me double check. And I think you posted this a while back. Yeah, 3:54 p.m. today, but thank you for that. Crypto Winner, first comment. Thank you for being here. Briltony says, happy Sunday. Well, thank you so much for being here. I do see that I think you're just going by Brittany. Okay. Well, whatever the case be, hopefully you're okay with me calling you either way. Thank you for being here. Brian Dowie says, sup guys. Thanks for being here, Brian. And also April Cornwell, who's in the house, says, yo. All right. Well, we're just going to take a brief moment, maybe just to wait for maybe a couple more people to come in. But again, thank you guys for joining us here at CTN tonight, and especially on a Sunday, entering into of course, the new work week and so on. One thing I wanted to point out before we get into anything is can't thank you guys enough for checking out the quant recorded videos and so on. We're really doing well with the quant coverage. We're really getting a good reception on it and so on. I think the last video is probably close to 1,000 views or something like that, basically. So we're going to continue to basically cover the likes of quant, some of these other ones and so on. But yeah, saw a couple people join from last night, for instance, from the recorded. They were definitely recognized and so on, and that's awesome. Up next, we got Tim Shea in the house saying hello to Brian Dowry and everybody. Thanks for joining us, Tim. Brian Dowry as well. All right, let's go ahead and get things started. I'm going to go ahead and show you, for instance, what's going on with the overall crypto market. And then, of course, some of you guys have seen this already, but if anything, we'll kick it in from there to, of course, some of the XRP news that we want to share with you guys tonight. So here it is, and this is really alarming. So for one, I mean, we're starting to approach that area of dropping below the $800 billion market cap, global market cap, and so on. Of course, FTX FTT is still trending for negative reasons and so on. Chili's is down as well. I did see some things in regards to the whole thing with the World Cup. So the World Cup is getting some bad press, or as the saying goes, FUD, because for one, I guess the whole thing with the LGBTQ community is offended with some of the remarks, or I guess the stance of the country of Qatar. And since the country of Qatar is hosting the World Cup, I don't know, they just have their particular stance in it. And as a result, is it causing certain cryptos to have a negative impact? Well, if anything, it seems to be the case. But again, we'll have to see what actually happens during the actual time of what the World Cup. But I've definitely seen some action in the downtrend, if you will, in regards to Chili's and some of these other ones, which is too bad. But if anything, we'll definitely monitor this a little bit more. Bitcoin itself is down to 16.2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this touch the 15s once again. As you guys know, during the whole FTX collapse, we did see Bitcoin touch the 15s. Legrand Commission basically pointed that out. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum drop below the crucial $1,000 mark. So here's what's going on the top, with the top 100, I should say. So for instance, let me just double check something. Here's what's going on in the 1 hour. Nothing too much. On the 24 hour, Again, nothing too amazing or anything like that. As far as what might be significantly on sale or anything like that, of course, our we've had a dump, which is to be expected. So it's down about 15% on the 24 hour, but again, on the 7 day, it was up about 10%. And then even Chili's dropped below, of course, that 20 cent mark. Algorand, of course, is down as well. That makes sense. Near Protocol. How about Dogecoin, right? Now below that 8 cent mark. Terra Luna Classic sitting at 0.301568. By the way, if you haven't checked it out already, I don't necessarily recommend various other content creators too often, but check out uh, Classy Crypto's latest coverage in regards to the whole thing with Cosmos and Luna Classic. You're not going to want to miss that. He has some news that's pretty interesting to say the least. Of course, we covered the likes of what was going on with Cosmos and Luna Classic before as well. I felt as though that was a real positive catalyst to build up the whole ecosystem and so on. I have not given up on Luna Classic. I just feel as though it just needs a, what I mean, we need more people, of course, to still talk about. It needs to still trend and so on. I do feel as though sand is still a buy at these price levels. I, of course, way overpaid for it a long time ago, but as the saying goes, you only lose if you know, you choose to sell. So I'm not going to choose to sell any of my crypto for a loss. That's just me. XRP that we're going to talk about, of course, sitting at about under 36 cents. Still, a buy. And then, of course, you guys know I've been dollar cost averaging into helium. I mean, that's an absolute steal in my humble opinion, not financial advice. HNT at $2.30 is pretty big. Man, even Ethereum Classic at $17.90. I feel as though that's a steal. I'm having a close eye on Zilica's ZIL at is this going to drop below the 2 cent? Could, especially if we tank below the $800 billion market cap and so on. Looking at some of these other ones, obviously, Phantom, very, very attractive at that price level, under 17 cents. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom with the whole thing with exchanges and so on, but my stance basically is it's kind of like history repeating itself. Well, there's 1929 with the stock market crash and everybody, getting their money out of the banks all instantly, and then of course that snowballs the whole thing of entering into the Great Depression and so on. These things do happen, whether it's the stock market or crypto, right? So, for instance, you see Kronos. In that one's at roughly 6.5 cents. I still feel as though that's a good price entry, especially if you're dollar cost averaging or considering it. Maybe there's some people, of course, that lost faith in it and so on. But my attitude is when I saw, for instance, Kronos do the proof of reserves and KuCoin's proof of reserves, Kraken's proof of reserves, you need to see that from centralized exchanges, right? Especially with everything that's happened recently, especially with the whole FTX fiasco. Quant, I definitely want to point that out, of course, because I'm basically doing like daily recorded quant videos recorded. That was sitting at $108.21. Let's face it, we dropped below that $800 billion market cap and so on. Quant could very well, touch the 90s again. How do we know that? Roughly about a week ago, I think it was even Menelect. If he's here tonight, but nonetheless, he mentioned that I think he got into it back in the 90s, and I saw, of course, that it went as low as 94.52, something like that. VeChain, this is very crucial. This is the first time in a long time that VeChain has broken its support. So VeChain used to have support at roughly the 2.5 cent range. And then, of course, when the market went up to like 1.07 trillion that we saw, recently before, of course, the collapse of FTX, it went back, of course, into the 3 cent area. This is very, very crucial for VET. You got to look at VET from the perspective that it's one of those ISO 222s, but from an inventory perspective. And again, this is the first time I've seen it crash this low. So I think it's safe to say they have lost that crucial support level. What will be the new support levels? I don't know. I haven't looked at more technical analysis in regards to that. I'm just basically stating what I'm seeing right now. Loop ring is well below that 25 cent level. I don't remember if that was the support level for that. Um, yeah, there's some of these other ones. Of course, there's IOTA. I said at 21 cents. So some of these ones just definitely want to bring to your attention. Polkadot 522. In my opinion, one of the best swing trades is Filecoin. That's sitting at 412. Cardano 31 cents. Stellar's kind of holding that area of about 8.5 to 9 cents and so on. All right. Just going to briefly kind of get back into the comments because I knew I put a lot of emphasis on that. And let's see here. Let's start off with the next person that's here. All right. Larry. He says, hit that like for Max. Thank you so much, Larry. Hopefully you're having a good night. Menelek says hello. Just talking about you. Good to see you, Menelek. Tim Shea, who says hello to Menelek. All right. Menelek states, Vitalik Buterin tweeted, quote, I'm hearing through the grapevine that something important is about to happen. Oh, boy. Well, what would that be? All right. Menelect, I said this previously. The only asset that ever existed on Earth, which is more liquid than XRP, is called water. I've seen that tweet that you sent out. That was pretty good. That's a good sign. Larry says he's a buyer quant at 88. Man, I'd have to really, really crash down to that, but it could happen. All right. But I mean, again, we have to look at support levels and so on. All right. Larry states we keep spending most of our lives living in a crypto paradise. Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and kick things into some of the other additional coverage that we have here. I'm just going to take a brief moment to show part of my watch list. I just kind of trying to share, for instance, some of the key things that I've particularly noticed and so on. We all have different watch lists, right? We should at least. So on the 24-hour Arenum, I think somebody else pointed this out a while back. It's up about 41.5%. Let's see here. Some of these other ones. There was one in particular. SLC, we talked about briefly the other night. It's basically a gamble. Remember, I told you guys that this one was well below a penny. You use extreme caution. But some people did decide last night, not necessarily saying our guys and so on, but they threw roughly 134,000 in volume towards this. It went up like a fraction. All right. Is there going to be a significant price action with this? Doubt it. But if anything, I would use extreme caution for this particular metaverse platform because it's taken a nosedive from its all-time highs at the beginning of the year, which was roughly about $4.50 to where it's at now. That's just huge on the nosedive with that particular one. A few other ones I think I saw earlier. What was it? Oh, Casper. Yeah. I did see that. I thought, for instance, that was a pretty decent entry point. Could it go further down? Yeah, very well could. You know how I'm always talking about proof of liquidity once in a while? With that one, they broke resistance as well. Support, I should say. Same thing to a sense, right? Anyway, that was for the longest time right around the support level of about 2+ cents. That one is broke below that. Keeping an eye on that. If that was to crash to a penny, I might take the Dogecoin approach where throw $300 at it by 30,000 or something. That's just me. There's no community with that one. Do more of your own research or watch one of my older videos on MaximusCrypto where I do a deep dive into POL. Again, got to look at it from this perspective. If you're looking to make money off of POL, you're not going to make jack squat hardly at all in this bear market. In a bull market, absolutely. Why? Because the proof of liquidity mechanism kicks in with all the staking going on the central exchange of KuCoin. Clayton, I want to point that out, is about 16.5 cents. And Let me see. Hydra. We talked about that one before. Kind of took a somewhat of a deep dive into that, sitting at $1.69, $1.69. Again, you can still earn about 40% APR on staking on KuCoin. Another couple. VGX has been a great swing trade lately. I've been really considering putting a lot into VGX again, sitting at about 35 cents. Of course, we saw this within the last week and so on, go into the, was at 28 cents and so on. And for instance, Doge Killer of the Shiba Inu ecosystem, it's kind of like the Bitcoin of that ecosystem, is sitting at $282 and some change. Again, in a bull market, you can see some big things with that particular one. It could go very well into the 1500s, maybe even to the 2000s in a bull market. Just want to point that out because it's happened. I'm not just saying that just to say it. XDC, I feel as though even at these prices, very good entry points if you haven't gotten to XDC. Of course, that's still top 100 of the ISOs. And if anything, a very, very fast blockchain, if you're not aware of it. Of course, we talk about XDC quite a bit here at CTN, but it's, the quote unquote Ethereum killer. A lot of people look at it, and that's kind of one of the labels that it's received. Last but not least, before we get more into some of the other news, KCS, which is KuCoin's native token from their exchange, I think personally is an absolute buy at 687. But I also understand how people don't want to invest in exchange tokens, and rightfully so with everything that's happened with FTX and so on. There's a lot of that fear, if you will. All right, just gonna go ahead and kick it into the comments just briefly, and then of course we'll get into the XRP news. Thank you for joining us here tonight at CTN. We really appreciate everybody who's here tonight. Let's see here. So, for instance, Menelect states, if Ripple buys up FTX assets, it could turn the market around. If not, Quant may hit 88 this week. All right. And Selma Fudd is in the house. Crypto Talk Now. Thank you for joining us, Selma. Really appreciate you, as usual, being here. Salamander, the XDC commander, is in the house. And he states, if you have 2,700 plus XRP, which I do, you're in the top 10% of XRP holders. Nice. Okay, I'm cool with that. I don't know. Maybe it's 3,300 or something like that. I know a lot of you guys got way more than that, but thanks for pointing that out. Tim Shea says hello to Somo. How about this one? All right. If you have 10,000 plus XRP, you are in the top 5% of holders. I would like to get up to 10,000 XRP. But I'm okay if I don't. I mean, the way I look at it is, if you do the math on some of these price projections and so on, I mean, a lot of people are going to be more than fine based on these particular figures. All right, Salamander got more stats for us. If you have 73,000 plus XRP, you're in the top 1% of XRP holders group. That's amazing. That is really, really impressive. All right. And I'm just going to hold it right there. And I'm going to go ahead and share. This gives us a great segue since we're talking about XRP. Let's go ahead and kick it into some of the XRP coverage for tonight here at CTN. Going to go ahead and show that to you guys here in just a moment. Here we go. Just going to get it all primed and ready. And here it is. So for instance, there is this right here. I actually wanted to point out first. And that is this, a lot of times we mention XRP's on-demand liquidity. Okay, so like you see right here, I'm of course going to try to blow this up a little more. There we go. It says on-demand liquidity, the ODL, right? So it says Ripple's on-demand liquidity ODL service enables instant payment settlement and eliminates the need for pre-funded destination accounts, offering best-in-class payouts into markets globally. And if you just look at some of these, partnerships, for instance, it's pretty big. And it's just like the tip of the iceberg, if you will. I mean, they got so much going on and whatnot. But when we make some of these uh, is it price predictions or price expectations at this point, right? A lot of people, of course, have mentioned some of these figures, whether it's from the Simpsons of the 589, um, the whole SEC thing coming to end, how we should see at least a minimum of $10 per XRP, and that's the first big step to get to where we need to be. So I mean, I see a lot of different waves of $10, 589, low balling at um, 1200, and then the steps going forward in the future, of course, um, with multi-year outlooks for the likes of XRP, and of course getting to the point where um, some people are saying don't sell your XRP. If anything, earn the interest off of that to create generational wealth. And that's the way I'm looking at it, is, that seems like a pretty good plan, because I'm not into XRP for swing trading by any means. I'm into it for, creating those particular legacies for myself, family, and so on. So I just want to point some of that out. There is this, and again, shout out to Crypto Lulu for sharing this before. And he states basically, he says, who said XRP has nothing to do with ISO 222? Who in the world would say that? But if anything, this was posted on, I think it was, like I said, 5 hours ago, but this is in reference, I should say, to the Developer Reflections Crypto ISO 222 interop. And this particular part, I should say, is kind of shrunk down a little bit because he took a screenshot with his phone. But check out some of the key things here. So, for instance, it says, we're excited to be reigniting developer reflections and kicking off this week. We are, of course, proud to highlight Crypto ISO 222 interop. If you're wondering what that is, basically, like it says right here, it enables interoperability between ISO 222 file formats and cryptocurrency payments to facilitate sending and processing receipt crypto payments within existing financial software's ISO 222 capabilities. In other words, Crypto ISO 222 interop is a product to simplify accounting workflows for small to medium-sized enterprises. And if anything, it's like, you see how there's a connection, for instance, with the likes of Ripple's XRP and so on. A little bit more in regards to this. Of course, I'm going to share this right here. Let's, of course, a little bit more in regards to the whole XRP news we have with you guys. So this was posted, of course, like roughly a couple of days ago, so on. But if you haven't seen the particular news on this, it's in regards to Combank, which announced migration to the XRP standard starting, of course, this month, which, of course, we're well, towards the end of this particular month of November. Now, it mentions Australian Commonwealth Bank is transitioning cross-border payments to the ISO 222 standard, of course, which is already met by Ripple. Now, these are some of the terminology you're going to hear quite a bit, especially if you're new here, and so on, whether it's Quant, XRP, XLM, XDC, and so on. And that is always cross-border payments, and of course, ISO 222 standard. So Combank, of course, began using XRP for a standard, and it states basically, following Ripple, Australia's largest financial conglomerate, Combank, also called the CBA, has announced today, well, not today as of right now, this faces the 20th, but 3 days ago, that will begin migrating cross-border payments to the course ISO 222 standard this month. According to its latest tweets, Combank will transition all of its payments to advanced standard by November 2025. Now, you may be wondering, well, what's the big deal with this? The big deal about it is you're seeing multiple examples of how a lot of these banks are already getting the ball rolling with this, literally starting to flip on some of these switches, as we would refer to. Of course, Combank unveiled its new ISO plans while responding to a comment by a Twitter user requesting updates about the ISO 222. The Australian bank giant tweeted this specific one, and a lot of people have been retweeting this specific tweet that you see right here. In the middle, it says, "Hi there, from November 2022, cross-border payments will start to migrate to ISO 222, with all payments to be made and received using ISO 222 by November 2025. Cross-border payments will be greatly simplified as a result. And then before I wrap up this particular piece, it says the XRP standard migration marks a great feat for the tech scene and financial institutions, as it basically offers new and unmatched possibilities for cross-border transactions. More intriguing is Ripple's already established use of the XRP standard. Ripple, which uses, of course, XRP as its operations, and whose Ripple network was originally designed to comply with just that ISO 222. In which that course meets that particular standard. You can read more about this, the full complete article on crypto.news, which goes in a little bit more further detail about this. But if anything, it's pretty big. You may feel as though, well, why isn't the price going crazy? Again, this is just one example. You also got to keep in mind, as far as that mandatory update, supposedly that's supposed to be March and so on. Some of you guys have pointed out that we want to see if that is still going to be true, or some of these guys, maybe they're lying to us and so on. Whatever the case be, I feel as though it's really going to happen in March, but there, of course, are still a few different banks and so on who are basically implementing this now. They're not necessarily waiting, for instance, for March. All right, a little bit more in regards to our particular XRP coverage, which is these particular, there's like about 2 or 3 of these videos. So it says XRP is the primary partner of BIS CBDCs. We're going to get that in just a moment. Of course, I'm just going to recognize maybe a few more comments, and then we'll kick it into just that. Traditionally kind of like a 5 in, a 5 out. And I do see a few more people connected. Thank you, of course, for joining us here tonight at CTN. Tim Shea is saying something to Menelec. All right, hold on a second. Let me go a little bit further down. Salamander, have you noticed XRP has been a top coin for years? It has been, but the whole thing, of course, has been the whole situation with the the darn SEC suit and so on. And my thing is, even though with all that negative press that has happened, or let's face it, in mainstream media and whatnot, it still remained a top 10 crypto with all that hindrance that happened. So I just think it's amazing to see where they're going. And even if for any reason something crazy should happen where they lose that SEC case and so on, which I don't see happening, they still have so many partnerships. They have so many other things going on, in which, let's face it, they're too big to fail. They don't necessarily have to have the full backing of the United States government in that regard. Menelect. Before all the FUD, Ripple execs stated the price floor needed to be 650 to cover its most basic function. This was in 2016 or 17, if I recall, but the amount was more than the 589. Well, that's huge. I'm glad you're pointing that out, because if anything, it gives people, I guess you could say, more than in a conservative outlook on the actual price and so on. Because, there's so many different calculations that need to be really discussed, but from a more realistic point of view and so on. And if anything, can one fully understand that? Because a lot of times, we just throw out, like, let's face it, tip of the iceberg type scenarios where it's, you have so much coming in from the financial sectors and so on. But like, even when I was doing more research earlier about the likes of Quant and what Gilbert Verdian was mentioning about this whole thing with, the healthcare industry and so on, that's a massive industry in itself, as we're not necessarily accounting for what can happen with some of these market caps when you consider some of these different industries. When you combine all of it and then you try to do a more conservative approach and so on, by lowballing some of these figures and some of the calculations, it's hard to really wrap your mind around it, because I don't know about you, but for me, it's just that's more than a deep dive, and rightfully so. But I'm glad you pointed that out. I like some of this. I'd like to look more into that for myself as well. I do believe you, though, for sure. But I think, if anything, the 589 thing is more of a Simpsons thing at the moment, which is fine. But if anything, that in itself is just monumental, especially for like some of the people that, Salamander basically pointed out, right? Some of the top 10%, 5%, 1%, and so on. It's just massive. All right, Sumo Flood states, if quant gets to 80, my goal of 100 quant, I'll be here pretty quick. We shall see. That's awesome. I love hearing like people becoming quant maxis. I'll just be honest. I mean, as you guys know, I've been talking a lot about quant lately, rightfully so. I'm trying to do my best to try to get us to the next level. If we can be a platform that, happens to be one that, is ISO focused, then, oh man, why not? So, but yeah, congratulations on that. I'll give you early congrats because I know that like your profile you mentioned, you're the first cryptonaire in your family and so on. And you didn't just get there for no reason. You've been in this game for a long time. And you obviously shared your crypto knowledge with our community. You also, of course, I'm sure shared it multiple times with your own personal family and so on. But yeah, I mean, 100 quant, man. I mean, I'm not even to my 10 mark yet. I think I'm at 7.6. I'm going to get there soon, but then I'm going to set my next goal to be 20. That's my preference. But that's awesome, man. That is really, really cool. And then who else was it? Was it what's his name? I always want to call him Quinoa, but that's not his name because that's the one of the Chinese restaurants here. Unfortunately, it went out of business. Man, that place had the best fried rice. But anyway, Linhua, he mentioned, I think, that he already had a 100 quant, that's just massive. That's awesome. All right, Salamander, I would be grateful at $25 in XRP. Yeah, that's a good point. I like some of these first goals that we're trying to get to. A lot of times, especially when it comes to, let's face it, something that we haven't talked about here for a while, we should probably talk about more often. Luna Classic, right? Some of these content creators and so on, I mentioned the whole concept of getting to $1 and so on. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with dreaming, right? But my first thing is let's have some realistic expectations first. Can we first, try to get to a penny? Then get, some of these other things, like for instance, Mike Cornwell pointed out back in the day, he did the math with that 7 cents and so on. Let's first achieve those things, then mention some of these other ones. But I've heard all sorts of different arguments for it and so on. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Menelect states, now with XRP gaining prominence, Ripple execs and others with signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Okay. Can't speak on the speculative price, only in generalities like a very high price. That's a good point because if anything, you don't want to, as in Ripple, don't want to give, any more reason for, I guess you could say, somebody from the SEC saying, hey, you guys came out with these, figures and so on, and here's what's going on with the market. I mean, something crazy could happen in the market and so on, and then make them, I guess you could say, liable. I don't see how they would be liable, but if anything, you don't want to give more fuel to, the SEC to try to especially drag this case out that much longer. But yeah, thank you for pointing some of that out. And let's see here. Menelec also states, retail must assume they are being lied to at all times in the crypto space. Retail have few reliable allies in crypto, especially in the traditional news media. Good point. Linhua, yeah, I was just talking about you. Good evening, everyone. Linhua, but I think I was just talking about like some of the things you achieved recently, if I'm not mistaken, with your likes of Quant and so on. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Everybody's welcome, of course. Linhua, Menelec, I tell everyone to buy at least 10 quant. That's my goal. I'm going to get there, especially soon. I'm just looking out for like things about, let's face it, Christmas around the corner. You got a budget and so on. Sumo FUD states XRP is greater than BNB. Yeah, totally. How about this? Linhua states 210 quant now, sir. Man, I like seeing quant maxis, my friend. That is awesome. That is so cool. Congratulations on what you achieved with your quant. I've been working hard. Yeah, totally. 1,000. So 1,000 quant, your goal is what you're saying? Tim Shea, nice. Linhua, which country are you planning to buy? Yeah, God, that's gonna hurt my ribs laughing about that one. All right. Linois also states, I have a long way to go, Selmo, but I'm working hard. Yeah, it's all about hard work. I was doing the whole, 3 jobs a day thing for a while. And, basically because I was trying to get as much crypto as I could, especially in these times. But now I'm back to one and I'm cool with that. All right. Linois says, lol. All right. Let me go ahead and highlight my position. And if anything, let's go ahead and kick it right back into some of the more of the XRP coverage we have for you guys here tonight at CTN. So on this particular one that I'm going to show you guys, of course, as promised, is some of the video clips. Shout out, of course, to this particular gentleman. I think some of you guys are following him. I saw that, for instance, Mr. No Face was following him, and it's Crypto Lulu. All right, highly recommend following Crypto Lulu. Been absolutely killing it with the coverage. I guess you could say he's like an XRP maxi and so on. I'm sure he's into other ones as well. But anyway, he states XRP is the primary partner of BIS CBDCs. Listen to some of the info that he has in regards to this whole thing with CBDCs and XRP. And of course, we'll be right back in about a minute.
Project Dunbar and R3, the technology that provides that for the Bank of International Settlements, has already decided that the first settler will be XRP on that platform, linking central banks. What more could you actually say? How can you actually even doubt that CBDCs will be touching XRP in this whole thing? Who's going to request not to use XRP to settle? 3 to 5 seconds, frictionless and super fast. Why would you not settle on XRP? This means, technically, in my mind, this is what it means. If you've got 50% of the companies or 50% of the banks using or settling in XRP exclusively, the other banks also have to have XRP because they also have to work on that network, because that's how the payments are going to go. So to me, this looks like some sort of spreading mechanism. Project Dunbar.
Yes, very good points he brings up there. A little bit more in regards to some of these topics, of course, because, let's face it, we're always hearing about that when it comes to the likes of CBDCs. For instance, what some of these bring to the table, the technology, right? Ripple's XRP, Stellar's XLM, Heck Quant, right? You name it. Let's get a little bit more into this. Let me share a different one with you guys. Give me just a second. So this is a little bit more in regards to all this. And again, it's from Crypto Lulu as well. Here it is. How I know CBDCs will use XRP. This one's about 2 minutes. And then, of course, we'll come back for some commentary here in a bit. Just a moment.
The CBDCs are happening. And the Bank of International Settlements is literally figuring out the best way to settle the payments. And so, as you go through the website, this is super, super interesting. You come across the partnership that the Bank of International Settlements have via Project Dunbar with a company called R3. Now, R3 are the creators of that platform that I'm talking about. They've created this platform that banks can literally send their CBDCs to other countries via this system. It's a multi-CBDC platform, and it makes it considerably better than what has traditionally been done, where there's lots of friction. They even use the word friction and velocity in this, explaining about how the solution needs to be fast and frictionless. Essentially what it does is it gets all these central banks on the same platform to be able to share their CBDCs with each other. And obviously you need a bridge asset in between. So then the thing is, well, how come I'm seeing people who know about Project Dunbar and know about R3? How are these people saying that Ripple is not involved? How are they saying that XRP can't be involved? And literally, one of the first things I saw on the R3 website when I started digging was an interview with the head of CBDCs at R3 and none other than David Schwartz, the CTO at Ripple, the creator of the XRP ledger. Now, please tell me, what is going on here? Why do you think the CTO of Ripple, the guy who made the XRP ledger, is sat in a meeting discussing CBDCs with R3? It's because R3 is going to be using XRP as the settlement token to bridge assets.
Yep, and that's the way I look at it as well. And it's, if you've been looking into, for instance, a lot of you guys have been, the likes of Quant, especially some of our recorded content that we have. We have outlined quite a few times a few things with R3 and Corda and so on. You see the partnerships, you see the likes of Quant, you see what's going on. For instance, crying out loud, you got David Schwartz from Ripple and so on. I can't believe people would make the statement that, you know, I mean, this, that XRP or Ripple, basically, there's no connection to CBDCs. Yes, there is. There absolutely is. And that's just crazy talk as far as I'm concerned. A little bit more in regards to our particular coverage. We've got a little bit more. And of course, we'll get back into the comments. And I'm going to share it here in just a moment. But it's a little bit more in regards to this because, if anything, it's recognizing some of these topics with the whole thing with CBDCs and so on. Give me just a second. It's a little bit more from Crypto Lulu because he's really been doing a good job with some of his recent coverage with these particular clips that you're seeing right here. This is about 1:30, and then after this, of course, we'll kick it right back into the actual comments to recognize some of you guys and so on. But it states how XRP can pump with ISO 222, something that we've been talking about here for literally months since last summer. 1:30, and then we'll be right back.
Basically, when you're sending a payment, you have to send first a message, and that message comes in relation to the account it's going to, the amount that's being transferred. All of that information comes in a message before the actual money is moved. And so Swift is the company that operate that messaging layer. So of course, the Swift update to ISO 222 isn't directly related to XRP, but here's why the XRP price would actually go up in that instance. So you have the new messaging standard. This new messaging standard actually includes the addition of data-rich information, so more information. And part of that is information regarding a cryptocurrency or a blockchain payment. Now, if you're taking a blockchain payment and using the messaging system to be able to take that cryptocurrency, you have to be able to have a transactional currency to be able to do that. And even more specifically, you need a transactional currency that's quick, safe, reliable, but they also need to have a liquidity functionality to be able to do all of these transactions. There are only two liquidity-rooted blockchains or systems in this area. That is XRP or Ripple and Stellar Lumens or XLM.
Pretty powerful message. When he mentions specifically the whole concept of liquidity, issue and so on, I immediately thought, right, Ripple's XRP, because of its ODL, that on-demand liquidity, and how crucial that is going to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share. I'm going to go ahead and kick it back into some of the comments. Thank you so much for trying to keep that YouTube algorithm going, guys. Really appreciate that. Let me go a little bit further down. Salamander, the XTC commander, says plus XRP is already ahead of the game. Yes, they are. Crypto Crackhead, gentlemen, we have not hit the bottom. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out. Thanks you for joining us here tonight. Crypto Crackhead, appreciate you being here. And let's see here. Michael Montclair says hello, of course, to all of us. So thank you for joining us, Michael Montclair, tonight. Selma Flood, the man with the voice and flair, at Michael Montclair. That's a nice rhyme. Selma's always got the great rhymes. You guys got to team up sometime and put something out. That'd be pretty cool. All right. Why not? I mean, think about this. Classical music with hip hop. I'm for it. Let's try it out. One thing I used to love back in the day was jazz and hip hop. And it's something that hasn't been done for quite a while. I used to love it back in the day with Tribe Called Quest and so on. They were some of the masters of that, right? I saw a little bit of Guru of Gangstar do some things like that and so on with his jazz mataz. But yeah, there's a lot of things you guys can do out, obviously, that you know about. Keeping that algorithm going. Thank you so much. Go a little bit further down. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Wow, because I was not feeling too well the other day. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and highlight that. Let's go ahead and kick it back into some of our particular coverage in regards to, everything that's going on in the in the world of crypto. All right, so pretty sure that there's this quick little snippet I'm going to share, and of course, it's from Crypto Hulk. Some of you guys might have saw this on USA Today. I'm not going to share the whole thing. I just want to basically share this particular one. So like it shows, breaking world's first USD-backed stablecoin on the XRP blockchain, which is XRPL basically. And this, of course, comes from Crypto Hulk. It's only about 46 seconds and so on, but it's pretty powerful. And if anything, I want to look more into see if this is actually listed like he mentions on various different outlets and so on. I'm talking basically like CMC, CoinGecko, and whatnot. Doesn't mean I'll necessarily buy this particular USDS and so on. But if anything, I want to research it a little bit more and have a broader idea about it. All right, give me just a second. And here we go.
Well, what do we have here? We have the very first XRP Ledger United States dollar stablecoin. Oh, man. And check it out. It's SEC qualified. So this is a stablecoin that's backed by the United States dollar. It's an XRP Ledger. Oh, my God. So you got this company called Stably Corporation based in Seattle. And there it is. The ticker, if you wanted to buy it right now, it's USDS. So this is official right there. Launched on the XRP Ledger. All right. This is Crypto Hulk.
All right. So shout out to Crypto Hulk for providing that. Another great content creator and so on. But I definitely wanted to point that out to you guys and give you that particular information. I'm going to go ahead and share some of the portfolio notes that we promised to give you guys last night. Didn't have a chance to, of course, do that. And that is it right here. And let me go ahead and blow this up. So, for instance, we showed a particular clip of what's going on with the whole FTX fiasco and so on. And then also, of course, showed you the gentleman on the left was Luke Lango. Again, some of his background, data analytics. For the Los Angeles Dodgers. He worked for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's, got a background, for instance, he went to Caltech. He's basically killed it with stocks in the past too. He was one of the top 50, if I'm not mistaken, as far as his how well he did with the stock market and so on within the last, I think it was like 10 or 15 years, something crazy like that. And of course, there was the likes of Charlie Shrem. Again, he's part of the Bitcoin Foundation. They provide some of these portfolio notes. I'm not going to read all these, but there's a couple ones I definitely want to point out. Polkadot is officially software now. Well, listen to this. It said not a security. Now, following its launch in 2019 as a security, the Web3 Foundation has worked with the SEC. Oh boy, I know. Hear me out. Over the last 3 years. Obviously, this is great news for Polkadot as it continues its work on decentralized, trustless, serverless internet. So now it's actually software. If anything, it's recognizing, remember Polkadot did quite a bit last year's bull run. And if anything, I am still looking into Polkadot, especially at these particular price levels, because I feel as though with some of the things that these two guys I mentioned, Charlie Shrem, Luke Lango, they did a piece on the whole thing of recognizing second waves of these cryptos that, for instance, like are in the top 100 that did very, very well and so on, and where they're going into the future. Polkadot, I feel as though, is entering into that quote unquote second wave. And if anything, I'm looking a little bit more into Polkadot, which in itself is, let's face it, I think they're still maybe top 15, if I'm not mistaken. If at minimum, they should be at least top 20. but of course I'll double check that in that regard. A little bit more in regards to these portfolio notes. It's just kind of like snippet of a few different things from the news and so on that we want to bring here at CTN, from CTN, I should say. One of Japan's best-selling comic book series, the Sensorium Metaverse and Quest, are coming, of course, to Polygon. Polygon definitely has stood out as one of the premier cryptos for 2022 in this bear market. But listen to this. It says Captain Tsubasa Rivals will let fans play as their favorite characters from the series and compete with others. NFT character cards will have different stats, animations, and music. Sensorium is a 3D metaverse that is partnering with Polygon Studios to power its token and enable decentralized apps to scale effortlessly. Quests are also coming to the network to incentivize users to explore the ecosystem. Here's one of the key things I want to mention here. A lot of times, especially when it comes to the likes of crypto-related games, there really hasn't been anything that really stood out to kind of get people to come back, to the exception of what happened last year with the likes of Axie Infinity. Hence why that went to where it basically did, and so on. Now I get the whole debate about Axie and so on, where they went from where they were at before, and I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole right now. But what I want to state is this is a big moment, could be a very big moment for the likes of Polygon, because if anything, where it mentions these specific things with Quest. So when I'm thinking of, for instance, and I, of course, just because I'm not into NFTs doesn't mean that I haven't researched, for instance, the likes of Axie Infinity and some of these other ones and so on, and understood the basics of what those particular games bring to the table. What I want to state is this. The whole concept of having quests, I think, is huge, because like it mentions, it incentivizes users to explore the ecosystem. You're giving people, tasks and duties, and they gain think about the concept of a game, experience points. And if anything, they go and complete these quests, come back to, for instance, to the NPC, and the NPC gives them another quest. And if anything, they want to level up the character and so on. This is big, because what's going to happen is more and more people are going to find out about this, if you will, because if anything, it creates, let's face it, if they can accomplish a fun, addictive game, this could be another positive thing for the likes of what you see here, for instance, with, was it Captain Tsubasa Rivals, and especially when it comes to the likes of Polygon. So I definitely want to point that out. In regards to Solana and the whole FTX debacle, listen to this. It says Solana shares how it has been impacted by FTX, the FTT type of situation. The Solana Foundation had 1 million on FTX, which is less than 1% of its cash or cash equivalents. It also had a number of FTX shares, FTT tokens, and SRM tokens on the platform. FTX and, of course, Alameda had tens of millions of Solana that had been locked. But since FTX has, of course, declared bankruptcy, it's unlikely that this SLL floods the market anytime soon. And that's one of the key things I wanted to present to you guys here. I think a lot of times people felt as though it was going to flood the market. That is not the case. It says we are continuing to, of course, monitor the Solana situation, but at the moment, it appears the bulk of the impact has landed. So that is it as far as the portfolio notes I wanted to basically share with you guys. There's, of course, a little bit more in regards to Tezos, but I just feel as though those are the main ones I definitely wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to kick it back into the comments here briefly, and let's see where we were last at. So, you're thanking Selma for the info. All right. Tim Shea basically says, hi, Michael Montclair gave your new video the first like earlier today. Cool. Glad to hear it. Glad to see that Michael's getting some more people watching his videos, because great voice. And, great voices need to be heard. Selma Fudd, Digital Planets, Rebirth of Slick. Cool like that. Yeah. All right. Selma Flood, Snoop Dogg has hooked up with Gala Games. Yeah, I remember that. And will be in the metaverse with Death Row Records. Yes. I'm glad that you're pointing that out as well. I also like, a lot of people don't necessarily agree from this point of view, but I agree with it. His statements that he made about, for instance, taking a lot of the content that's already on, for instance, different outlets, not necessarily like YouTube and so on, but if anything, he wants to create kind of like a, uh, not necessarily a Spotify, if you will, but making it so in which maybe Death Row will have his own app. And if anything, that would be huge for, him and the likes of other artists that were on that old label, let's face it. And if anything, get some of the revenue that they were denied, I guess you could say, from years past with the whole Suge Knight situation from years ago when, let's face it, I mean, he denied them so much money that they should have received a long time ago. But if anything, he has a very good business approach of how he's handling that whole situation. And I'm glad to see it. Tim Shea, Selmo, Gala dipped under 3 cents. Huh, good point. Tim Shea, Max, send Caroline the link. Man, the whole thing about that whole, what tape. I mean, people really want to see that. I don't want to see that. I'm good on that. Ugh, just give me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. Anyway, Mr. No Face is in the house. Good to see you, Mr. No Face. I see that you also follow Crypto Lulu. Right on. See, we got about 21 people here tonight. Thank you, of course, for joining us here at CTN. Tim Shea with the, thing out, the classic Somo FUD. All right. And you guys give each other dabs. That's great. All right. Good evening, Max. Looks like the market is dumping. Yes, it does. Let me just refresh it. Currently speaking, it's at, I think, still at 803. Oh, we're going to refresh it. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and kick it into it. Just before my very eyes, it has crashed. So I'm sure you guys use CMC like the next guy. So we mentioned earlier on the show, we were at $803 billion market cap. This is huge, guys, because now we are definitely below that crucial 800 billion. Now it's into the 795 or roughly 95. It says 794 and so on. It's big, really, really big. If anything, let me see. Will VET, remember how we were talking about VET earlier, how lost support? So yeah, even on VET, I mean, this VET was at like, 2.5 cents for the longest time. And now it's at under 2 cents at a penny 7. Pretty big. And yeah, just like Crypto Crackhead point out, we're not at bottom yet. Maybe Richard Hart is going to, hit the nail on the head again. He hasn't been wrong so far. He basically mentioned that bottom for especially Bitcoin was 11K. Will we get to that? I don't know. I don't really know. But if anything, there's a lot of indicators to show that we could. And of course, it just seems like a lot of doom and gloom. But my thing is this, like that, that quote, for instance, from the likes of Warren Buffett, when people, was it be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful? And that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at like, I'm going to still load up on quite a few of these because why not? Now, do I get bottom every time? Not necessarily, but on a few of them I have. Share your approach. How are you going about it? Are you holding off a little bit longer, or are you dollar cost averaging in because you feel as though hitting bottom, a lot of times you haven't been able to hit it. Sometimes you do, but not all the time. I'd like to hear from you guys. But thanks for pointing that out. Let's go ahead and kick it back into the comments. Let's see here. To have everybody saying hello to each other. Salamander, Max, I think the SEC will settle with XRP if XRP buys out FTX assets. I did see a news article in regards to that. Didn't have a chance to kind of verify things and so on, but I did see what you were basically stating. Because if anything, I don't know, it just kind of, would it be a conflict of interest with the whole thing, with some of the things that is going on with what's his name? Gary Gensler and so on. Again, it's a good point. And if anything, that might help accelerate the whole thing. And I'm cool with it accelerating because let's face it, it is drug out through the mud. We're going on what, like almost 2 years now? When was the original month for the opening of the case. I'll have to take a deep dive into that. Not necessarily deep dive. Maybe that's just a simple Google search. All right, crypto high. Time to buy the dip or wait for more pain. I think that's the main thing. Maybe that should be a thumbnail, right? Time to buy the dip or wait for more pain. Maybe I'll make a thumbnail out of that one. I like that one. All right. Salamander, the XTC commander. I lost $3,000 so far just today. Time to buy more. Yeah. And things like that happen. I mean, I remember when we went up to what was it, 1.07 trillion, and I was like, oh, my portfolio is up, 10K, and I was like, that's cool, but at the same time, I'm like, it's still not even close to where I need to be. And that's just how it is sometimes. All right. Let's see what Selma's laughing about. That's funny. Selma is my face. Hard to represent myself better than that. LOL. Okay. All right. That's funny. All right, crypto high. I lost 10K today. So yeah. Wow. Hey, I haven't seen you for a while. Grizzly Bear Greg. I am dollar cost averaging. Good to see you here, Grizzly Bear Greg. Thank you for joining us once again. Mr. No Face, definitely still being greedy. I don't have a runny nose, by the way. Just my nose is getting itchy for some reason. Definitely still being greedy. Still topping up on XRP. That's cool. Good. Tim Shea saying hello to Grizzly. All right, Mr. No Face, but I'm starting to have a few itching questions. Maybe the XRP itching questions make my nose itchy. Not really. But if you itching questions about XRP, okay, that's fine. Whatever questions you have, go ahead and ask them. That's what we're here for. Myself, the community, and so on. Grizzly Bear Gray, I need to drag on until mid-December. I'm trying to get to 10,000 XRP. So far, only at 5,000. Well, you got me beat. I'm at like, I don't know. I have to double check where I'm at. I think I'm only at like 3,300 or something like that. I need to get more. I just have had a lot of unexpected expenses with medical bills and stuff like that, unfortunately. But let's see here. So XRP, yeah, you know me. Yeah, I'm sitting at 3,600 roughly. So I got to get more. We all have our goals. So, and then Tim Shea says, good start, Grizzly. Yes, indeed. Very, very good start. So, guys, I know we have about 20 people in here and so on, and I do appreciate it. I'm going to read this one last comment. It says, isn't it curious the XRP isn't being grabbed up a lot more considering all the positives? The SEC case shouldn't have so much of a scary effect at this point. True, but I think one of the key things I want to basically mention is this, the FTX issue. And I think if anything, it creates that much more doubt. Don't get me wrong. There's, of course, those like us and so on who are going to load up more. But there's also, of course, the percentages of people who may have decided, you know what, that thing I heard about the XRP, I only know a little bit about it. I don't know enough. I'm going to hold off. And for whatever reason, people do that. There's always going to be those types of figures, to say the least. And that's just the reality of it, whether we like it or not. Grizzly Bear Gray, thanks, brother, working hard. 10,000 XRP, a good bag. Yeah, heck yeah, it's a good bag. I think earlier, maybe before you got here, XDC commander himself, aka Salamander, pointed out that I think you're in the top 5%, something like that, maybe higher, maybe 1%. I don't know. But he has some stats, and he also says also buy XLM and XDC. I doubled my position of XLM at these prices because I saw XLM, it was like 8.5 cents or something like that, and I was like, you know what? I originally bought into XLM at, for instance, I think 26 cents, something like that, at the beginning of the year, or maybe even late until last year. I can't remember. And I was like, I'm just looking at, the price difference, for instance, and I'm also trying to, diversify my portfolio more. So I was really into XLM for the longest time anyway. Already had, I don't know, like 2,000 XLM, and I was just like, you know what? At these prices, it was like a no-brainer. I was just like, I'm just going to double my position into XLM, and I did just that instead of, for instance, adding more to my XRP bag. I believe in both projects full-heartedly, the triple X's especially. Mr. No Face, always worry when it seems like my side knows more than anyone else. I do see the super sticker. I'm going to get to it in just a second. Selma Flood with the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, Selma. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, you guys. And if anything, be on the lookout for another quant video, which will be released probably later on tonight. If you're not up for it, it's okay. You can always check it out tomorrow. And of course, I have some XTC updates. I'm going to probably try to do some more XRP coverage. I'm encouraged now, based on the last short XRP video that we did, even though it was taken from, like, I guess you could say, some of the coverage from the show. But I'm going to try to, continue with the focus with quant. Also mentioning some of these other ones, the triple X's and so on. But guys, it's been a great show. Can't thank you enough for being here tonight at CTN. If you could hit that like button. So like, comment, subscribe, obviously, if you haven't done so already. And by all means, hit that bell notification. And head on over to cryptotalknow.net. I know a lot of you guys basically are already. Check out the app and so on. Use it. Get used to it. Of course, we're going to have some more updates in that regard. Thanks again for joining us here on this Sunday night. May all have a blessed rest of your night. Good luck on the rest of the start of the next work week. Let's face it, for a lot of us, we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Some of us, of course, get Thanksgiving and Black Friday off. I did double check with Larry. We will have coverage for Thanksgiving. It'll basically be him. He's going to be joining us. But if whoever shows up during that time, we more than appreciate it. But if anything, guys, we'll see you on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It's been a great show. And thanks again. I'm just going to go some of these last comments. And if anything, can't thank you guys again. Thank you so much. You are the only influencer that pumps up quant with content. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get over that hump, trying to take CTN to the next level. And I feel as though we really need to have more recorded content. So I've been trying to put a lot of focus into that. And thank you for recognizing that. Really appreciate that. Mr. No Face showing some love. Stereo Equipment, his saying was, these prices are insane. Yes, indeed. All right. Over and out for now, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy.